Hello, welcome back to Carl's Off the Grid. This week we are back at the cabin. What I would like to do is I would like to get the tile that we put in last week all grouted and safe so that we have fireproofing behind the wood burning stove. But before we do that, since it is such a beautiful day today, we're at 36 degrees with Nick the Animal Steel, and we decided that we'd quick hit the lake and do a little bit of walleye fishing. Because it is so nice, I don't want to make this a fishing video, but we're going to kind of split it up. We're going to go ahead and fish till dark here, and if we get some walleyes, we'll share it with you, and if not, we'll meet you back at the cabin where we're going to go ahead and regrout that tile that needs to be fireproofed. But in the meanwhile, I kind of wanted to show you what's all involved with the Wisconsin ice fishing trip. I've had a lot of subscribers that are from down south that don't know what the whole experience of ice fishing is about, and they think that we're crazy ice fishing. But actually, when we're out here, it's not as cold and as awful as what you would think. I think people have that stereotype of seeing somebody sitting on a bucket fishing and freezing their buns off. Trust me, we have got all the nice accommodations out here to make an enjoyable experience. So join us on this trip, and then we'll get to the cabin. We'll finish that tile off. Because we have two people in Wisconsin, we're allowed 3 lines per each person. So we have 3 tip-ups we already set up over here, and on this side of the lake, I'm not sure if the camera's going to pick it up, but we have another 3 that stretch out for a ways. And the place where we're fishing, just to set up the scene, this is a river coming into the lake. We are right at the mouth of the river, and it goes out to this beautiful scenic lake. Everybody else is fishing on the other side. We just don't want to be part of the group. We want to get out somewhere where we're on our own, where we can enjoy some food without people, being around begging us for Nick's good cooking. But no, seriously, we just wanted to get out on the lake where we're by ourselves and enjoy this last day on the water. So we'll see what we can do. All right, Nick, you want to give us the taste test?
Oh, yeah.
It's probably hotter than sitting. Is it good?
Oh, that's good.
All right, nothing better than fresh food on the ice. So, like I said, usually when we go ice fishing, we like to make it enjoyable. A lot of my friends that haven't ice fished before, I know they think that we're crazy out here. But we always make sure that we have warm food in our stomach. We have sodas and other refreshments that are in the shanty behind me, along with the heater. And we're figuring on getting our food in now, because typically this lake, the walleyes are an evening bite. If we get any tip-ups right now, it's just going to be a bonus fish. And the plan is tonight we want to get back to the cabin. We'll probably go as soon as it gets dark. And we're going to regrout those tile that we put in behind the wood burning stove, and that way we can finish off that project. And then this week we've been looking around for kitchen cabinets. We weren't able to find any cabinets, but a friend of mine who has a YouTube channel called Wandering Wiley, he's in the midst of building his own cabinets for his cabin. And if you haven't checked out his YouTube channel yet, he's another, from time to time I like to give a little bit of shout outs to channels that are pretty good, and that I think go along with what the crowd that watches my stuff would be into. Check out his channel. He's out of northern Minnesota, and he's got a great off-the-grid cabin that he's building. It's a little bit different concept than what I have going on. Mine is I'm building a cabin on a budget and showing people how you can still be able to afford a getaway in the North Woods. And Wiley's is a little bit nicer cabin, and you know, I think that you guys would really enjoy watching his. So anyways, he says, Carl, why are you fooling around with buying cabinets? Why don't you make your own cabinets? And after talking with him, I think I might just do that. So the plan is I'll get the fireproofing behind the fireplace done, and then from here I think I'm going to start building some simple cabinets for the cabin, and that'll probably be on next week's video or maybe the week after that. We'll see how things go. Right now the price of lumber is skyrocketing. It is just ridiculous. I think a simple sheet of plywood right now, instead of being, you know, $8 or whatever it normally is right around 30 some dollars. So that's why we can't really get into the new cabinets, because every place we look is either sold out or they're backlogged. So I don't want to wait too much into the spring this year. I want to get that kitchen done. So I'm going to start those cabinets here pretty soon. And then once we get the thaw, then we're going to move on and we'll go ahead and put in a sandpoint well, or at least attempt to. And then we're still kicking around whether we're going to put a septic in or put an outhouse in. All right, I don't know if you guys can see that flashing red light, but that is an Omni light on the tip up. Nick is standing over there. That's signifying that a flag was tripped. We're going to go over there and see if he's got a walleye. All right, so Nick pulled the tip up and he's going to go ahead and see if he can get this fish.
No, it's just the sucker.
It just was a bump?
Yeah, the sucker's still good too.
Okay. We're going to let him back in. We had just a false alert here. One just tipped it, so we'll go ahead and reset this tip up and we'll let you know if we're able to get one. Okay folks, so like I told you in the last video, I'm no pro at this one, so don't laugh at me. I got the grout ready for the tile here, and it's just going to be a simple process of just smearing it in until you can get a good thick bead in there. And then once we get all those joints filled, then we'll go ahead and we'll take a wet sponge and then we'll dry it off with the wet, or we'll wipe it off with the wet sponge. So I'm just applying this stuff real liberal, and I assume I'm doing it the right way. I'm not a pro, but you can see once I put it on there, boy, that fills in pretty decent. And we're going to want to make sure that we get it on the edges as well. And this is what they call, the guy was explaining it to me at the store. Maybe some of you guys can help me out in the comments section. But it's supposed to be a sandless grout. So whatever that means, that's what we're going ahead and using. It's already pre-mixed. All that we do is we stick the trowel in there and go ahead and have at it. And this trowel, Nick, if you could get a close-up of this, this is a real soft rubber trowel, and that gives us just a perfect amount of flexibility that I can shove this grout inside the joints. And you can see I did the first joint. I mean, that literally took me just a couple seconds, and I think everything looks pretty good. I'm going to clean up on the edges here a little bit, and we'll make sure that the edges are all filled in. But that's how it's going to look like. So I'm going to go ahead and start filling the rest of these joints, and we'll see how it looks when we're done. We'll take that wet sponge that we used in the last video, And like all the tile guys I talked to, they said your favorite or your best tool that's going to be saving your butt is that wet sponge. So we'll go ahead and we'll go over it with the wet sponge, make sure that we get any streaks off or anything like that, so it doesn't look like a rookie did it. So even though a rookie is doing it, they'll at least look nice that way. So I'm going to go ahead and just go ahead and fix the rest of these joints. We'll fill them up with the grout, and then we'll see how it looks, how it turns out in the end. Okay, it's coming too. If I can do this, you guys can do it. Like I said, this is my very first time ever doing any type of tile work, and you know, I'll let you see what it looks like at the end, and you can give your opinion if you want. If you don't, I don't care. But anyways, the hardest part is the vertical seams. If you can smash it into the vertical seams first, the horizontal seams, for whatever reason, seem 1,000 times easier. So I'm already halfway done, and I probably have 5 minutes into this. So I'm going to go ahead and pack the rest of those seams on the other side of the wood burning stove with the grout, and yeah, then we'll take another look at it. All right, so yeah, we got it all done. Like I talked about earlier, I don't mean to be real repetitive. You know, I'm just a beginner at this. If I can do it, you can do it. I went ahead and I bought some decent grout, talked to the specialist, found out what was the best. This is a non-sandable grout that they said would work real well. Make sure you have a very clean sponge, because this does set up real quick. And we noticed after I got done doing it that there was sandy, gritty stuff all over the tile. And so what we did is we went back over with a sponge and cleaned it up. You have to wring the sponge out repetitively and make sure that you constantly change and get good clean water. And then they also warned me that the next day you may end up getting a little bit of streakiness if you hit it with clear water and put a little bit of elbow grease into it. They said that should just clean right up. So I think it turned out pretty decent. That's one more project that I have done. I've got a couple different ideas for a mantle, and I was talking over with a couple people in the comments section last week what we might be able to do. And I've got a pretty cool project that I'm going to do, and I'm just going to give you kind of a little teaser, if you will. It has to do with a shelf and a set of antlers that I found out in the woods one day. So anyways, that'll be a future project. So this is pretty much done as far as I want to go with the grouting and everything. I think it was pretty successful. We already have a fire and a fireplace. Luckily, with how far this wood stove is from the grout, this never really gets hot. I don't understand why it's code that I have to have it back there. I had a really hot fire burning last night. I came in here and I touched the wall, and the wall was maybe lukewarm, but it never really got hot. So I just want to abide by what the local codes are, because I don't want to have any problems with this place if it ever were to have any issues with, you know, any inspections or anything like that. I want to make sure that we're up to code. So thank you for joining us this week on Carl's Off the Grid. Like I talked about earlier when I was out on the ice. Oh, by the way, we had rotten luck out there. Nick had one tip up, and that was it. And the fish weren't cooperating, and he did not get that fish. The fish ended up dropping the minnow, and we got skunked. But that's the way fishing goes. You don't always catch something. That's, I guess, why they call it fishing rather than they call it harvesting, right? So we'll catch you next week on Carl's Off the Grid.